appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, so it'll be quick. Hello, my name is Samantha Johnson, and I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse. I know for many this is an uncomfortable subject, but I assure you it is one that affects all of us in some way. The CDC estimates that approximately 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 4 girls are sexually abused before the age of 18. I think of my 2 young sons, Elijah and Boaz, dropping them off at daycare. It is likely that a number of those sweet little innocent children will be sexually abused in their lifetime. And it's a crime, and to stay quiet about it is just unacceptable to me. Whether you are aware of it or not, someone you know has been a victim of child sexual abuse. The Darkness to Light organization, which fights to end sexual abuse, states that in the year 2017 alone, there will be about 400,000 babies born in the U.S. that will become victims of child sexual abuse. April happens to be Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So today I would like to share with you some facts about this uncomfortable subject, as well as a bit of my own story. RAINN also reports that about 93% of perpetrators are known to the victim and probably even the victim's family. Many parents teach their children, Edmund Burke once said, "The only thing necessary for triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing." I believe this is why it is important to keep the conversation going. There are many myths about child sexual abuse. Some think that it isn't very common. RAINN is the nation's largest anti-sexual violence organization, tells us that every 98 seconds another person experiences sexual assault. Within this speech, the time that it takes to give this speech, 4 more people will become victims of sexual assault. Erin Morin, an author, activist, and child sexual abuse survivor, who Erin's Law is named after, researched that out of an estimated 42 million child sexual abuse survivors in America, 3 million of those now are children, and they could fill 46 national football stadiums. Erin's Law is a law that requires all public schools in each state to implement prevention-oriented child sexual abuse program, which teaches age-appropriate techniques for children in all grades to recognize and to speak out to a trusted adult about sexual abuse, as well as teach school personnel so that they are capable of getting children the support and the protection that they need. Erin teaches about safe touch, unsafe touch, and that it is every child's right to feel safe, protected, and heard. Many parents teach their children about stranger danger, but RAINN also reports that about 93% of perpetrators are known to the victim and probably even the victim's family. And of that percentage, 59 are acquaintances and 37% are family members. One of my earliest abusers was my step-grandfather, and that abuse spanned for about 8 years and began at the age of 4. Another abuser of mine was a neighbor friend's father during a sleepover, and then my first serious teenage boyfriend when I was 17 raped me. It is a common stigma that if you have been sexually abused or assaulted, and that it happens again, then it must be your fault, that you wanted it somehow, or you wanted the attention. This is called re-victimization. Another definition states that victims of rape are more likely to be raped, and women who are physically and sexually assaulted as children are more likely to be abused as adults. I found an article, Why Rape Victims Are More Likely to Be Assaulted Again, which research stated that being sexually assaulted greatly increased the risk of future assaults. One study showed that being sexually assaulted once meant that a woman was 35 times more likely to be assaulted again in her lifetime. It went on to explain more studies prove that once you were robbed, you were 9 times more likely to be robbed again. And once your home was burglarized, you are 4 times more likely to be burgled again. There's not much research that I found on as to why, but that it does happen. Now let's talk about some signs that you can recognize. Don't dismiss these signs and pay attention to your instincts. You have them for a reason. A few of these signs include, but are not limited to, not wanting to be alone with specific people, alone in general or alone at night, not wanting to be away from the primary caregiver, especially if this is a new behavior for the child. The child might avoid having to remove clothing while bathing or otherwise. The child might excessively talk or have knowledge about sexual topics that are not natural for them. Nightmares, excessive worry and fearfulness, which was a major one for me. And some children begin bedwetting after they have grown out of that behavior, so pay attention. Physical signs can include STDs, genital trauma, blood in the underwear, blood in the bed sheets. Aggression and attention deficits are also signs to look deeper into. When a child begins to become angry for no explainable reason, look deeper, ask questions. There are numerous long-term effects that are devastating, not only to the victim, but to the victim's loved ones as well. These effects can reach far into the future, and it is imperative that the victim get the support that they need, as well as the family members. Some of the effects are low self-esteem, long-term effects, self-harm, depression, loss of motivation, self-hatred, substance abuse, loss of trust in adults, promiscuity, poor judgment, self-blame, self-hate, guilt, denial, suicide, just to name a few. There are many more. Healing is a long road to travel, but it is so worth it. The burden is not lightened overnight, but by the grace of God and a lot of counseling and sharing and sometimes medication, it can be done. Be brave and push on. If a victim chooses to share their secret with you, let them do the talking. And please, please remind them, it is not their fault, that they are safe. And most importantly, that you believe them. The worst thing to happen to a child sexual abuse victim is to scrape up enough courage to tell someone and then to not be believed. Most likely the outcome of this will be that they will bury their secret and never share it again. Let me tell you, that's a hopeless road to travel. My little sister shared with a friend that she was being sexually abused. Thankfully, the little girl told our mother. I was about 8 or 9 years old. My sister's about 3 years younger than me. And at the time, my mom asked if I believed my sister, and I told her yes. But then she asked me a question, and my answer should have smacked her square in the face. Is he doing this to you? My answer was no. To anyone who knows anything about child sexual abuse, this should have been a red flag, a duh moment. But my parents were like any other parent who is not educated on the subject. And they're torn apart by the possibility that this could be true for so many different reasons. They could not see the signs, and trust me, they were like a train screaming down a track that they were standing on. So the abuse continued. This is why it is so important to spread the word about this worldwide pandemic. If you don't understand how predators work and why they are so successful, then you can't do anything to stop it. They rely on the child's silence from the predator's threats of harm, silence from the secret that the child promised to keep, and silence that the abuser tells them they will feel shame and that no one will believe them anyway, and a lot of times their fears are realized. The Bible says in Luke 8:17, "For all that is secret will eventually be brought into the open, and everything that is concealed will be brought to the light and made known to all." Let's keep this conversation going. Be open to listening and talking about sexual abuse. Open your eyes to what's going on around you. And if you suspect abuse, please report it. Once a child admits to being sexually abused, you must report it. It's not only a moral obligation, but it's a legal one. There are many toll-free numbers to call, online support organizations that have information. Call your local law enforcement. Someone will help you. But don't ignore the cry for help. These calls can remain anonymous, but another point that I want to make, that it's not your responsibility to determine if these allegations are true. Leave that to the professionals. You don't have to do that. I've talked with many people in my lifetime who have seen obvious signs of sexual abuse or been told by a child that they were being sexually abused. And they didn't report it, only to find out later that the abuse was true, that it continued on, and who knows how many more victims were left in the wake of that abuse. There are children out there that can't and don't know how to speak up. I was 4. There are children that are younger. They are counting on you and me to be the voice for them. please be that safe adult that they can tell their secret to. God bless you. Thank you.